Welcome to the HR Chat Show, one of the world's most downloaded and shared podcasts designed for HR pros, talent execs, tech enthusiasts, and business leaders. For hundreds more episodes and what's new in the world of work, subscribe to the show, follow us on social media, and visit hrgazette.com.
In this episode, we're going to take a look at ways to better communicate benefits to employees so they stay engaged and they're more likely to stick around. My guest this time is Ben Hale, CEO and co-founder over at Brite, a benefit decision software that helps employees pick the right employer benefits for them and their dependents. The decision tool is integrated with what the Brite team calls their digital benefit guides, so users have an all-encompassing experience to learn about and get a recommendation about their employer benefits. Ben, welcome to the pod today. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Bill. I'm excited to be here.
So Ben, beyond my wee introduction there, why don't you take a minute or two and tell our listeners all about yourself? You've had a very varied career, I can see from your bio and your LinkedIn profile and whatnot. Start there. We'll get into the mission of Brite shortly. So let's just learn a bit about you first.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. So I was born and raised in Salt Lake City, Utah. You know, I'm a mountain kid in spirit. I mountain bike and ski. And early off in my career, I graduated from the University of Utah. I got into software and technology. I worked for General Motors and then a couple tech startups. And during my time at one of those tech startups, I actually got diagnosed with cancer. I was 26 years old and just had a 2-month-old son and had to navigate, that whole trauma of surgeries and chemotherapy and all of that wild stuff that comes along with the diagnosis like that. And it really changed my perspective on life, and especially the benefits that my employer were offering me and the value of those. And that's kind of how I got plunged into this world of benefits and HR. And, now we're on, this mission to help employees pick better benefits for them and their families.
Thanks for tuning in to the HR Chat podcast. If you're enjoying this episode, we'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe and leave a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice. And now, back to the conversation.
Let's talk about the mission of Brite then. Why don't you break that down for us, take a couple of minutes and share how you guys help employees and employers.
Yeah. So our mission is to empower employers and their brokers with tools to communicate, educate, and effectively execute on their benefit strategy. And so, what does that really mean? For those who have administered benefits at their company or, have ran an open enrollment or have tried to help an employee, understand the benefits, it's no easy task. Typically, the experience is a printed benefit guide of some sort. We've seen them range from 30 pages to 60 pages. There's a PowerPoint presentation. There's some sort of in-person meeting. There's emails filling an inbox of an employee with different PDFs and pamphlets and flyers from the different insurance offerings. And it's a very disjointed experience. And trying to understand insurance, especially medical insurance and life insurance and all of that, there's new words and jargon. There's premiums and deductibles and contributions and rates and networks. And there's all this lingo in the US benefits that to the layman like myself, it was way overwhelming. And so, from my experience going through cancer and, trying to dissect these benefit guides and the PowerPoints and all of the information, our mission is to really create a unified experience that delivers bite-sized pieces of education for each benefit. And we couple that with decision tools, right? So trying to personalize a recommendation for an individual or their family based off of their needs or their risk tolerance. It's really about creating that experience, a digital experience, something that's shareable to a spouse or a dependent that's not attending those meetings or can't attend those meetings. And so Brite, in essence, is a digital benefit guide that's deliverable through text messaging, Slack, Teams, email, QR codes. We have a variety of different ways to actually deliver this. It's white labeled out the box for the employer. So it's their company, their logo, their branding, their font. So it feels like an internal message. And then again, we have tools that are built in, and it's a simple walkthrough highlighting the different benefit options with decision support, and then an enrollment service that helps people get to where they need to go to actually enroll. And that is our mission, is to simplify that process in a way that resonates more with the employees of today.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the HRchat Show. IEA training provides professional development to a changing workforce with changing needs, and we're proud to support this episode of the HRchat podcast. IEA offers lots of courses, webinars, and on-demand training to meet our students where they are and help them reach their goals. We're proud of our contribution to better risk analysis and high operating standards in the industry. Learn more at ieatraining.org. And now, back to the conversation.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to delve more into some of those features of Brite with you shortly. But for now, I want to talk a little bit about attraction and retention of employees. On your website, there's a really quite a honest, straightforward, but powerful quote from one of your customers, Lex Ferguson, Senior People Operations over at Podium. And Lex says as follows: "Our benefits aren't much better than our competitors, but we do a much better job of highlighting the value of those benefits thanks to Brite." That's a pretty nice testimonial. So my question there is, how can more powerful communication of benefits, Ben, help organizations to attract and retain their employees? How does it help them stand out from their competitors?
Yeah, I'll relate one more story that highlights this point. Years back, we were chatting with a former employee of Uber, the ride sharing. And at the time, they probably had one of the richest benefit programs in the United States, I would argue. And this individual had left Uber, and we were chatting with him. He goes, "I had no idea what was actually being offered to me when I was employed at Uber." And I think a lot of us fall into that category of just not understanding what's being offered to us and the value of those. And there's statistics that will back this up, is, employees will stay at a company or leave a company, based off the benefits that are being offered. And so what Brite does is that it highlights these programs and these benefits and helps people understand them and maximize the value of them, not only with the medical benefit, which again, that's a big one, but you've got life insurance and disability and commuter programs and legal insurance and pet insurance and wellness programs and, all sorts of benefits that are being offered that are often forgotten about. And with our current process of, printed guides and open enrollment meetings on all of that, those never get the stage that they should be or should have, because typically the medical takes 90 to 95% of the time. And so what we've done is been able to highlight these other programs to attract employees and retain employees. And that's across the benefit offerings that employees or employers offer their employees.
Okay, thank you very much. For your next answer to the next question, I'd like for you to pretend that I'm an HR leader of an organization and sort of gear your answer towards our HR leader listeners. We have a big mixture of listeners, but let's focus on that segment for the time being. Brite claims to help educate and communicate employee benefits in an engaging and more effective way, making it easier for employees to choose the right benefits and paving the way for higher employee understanding and satisfaction, of course, as you've mentioned so far. So the question for you is, how does the Brite platform drive employee benefits engagement with those shareable, easy to create digital benefit guides packed with decision support tools? Explain that to me as if I were an HR leader.
Yeah, so there's a lot of ways that we do that, but to kind of sum it all up, everyone has a mobile device that's connected to the internet. I'd argue that 95% of people. So if you are a tech company, if you are a construction company or retail company, mining, whatever type of company, your employees have a cell phone or device that's connected to the internet. So the way that we create engagement is, one, by simplifying the message around benefits, and then two, being able to deliver that message in a way that they'd like it to be delivered via text message. Hey, here's your benefits for this year. Click on this link and go through it. An email, a Slack message, or a Microsoft Teams message. Hey, open enrollment's kicking off. Let's learn about your benefits, right? And then simplifying what's the content inside of there. Hey, here's your medical plan. Here are your options. Let's ask you a couple of questions to see what's the best fit for you, right? Life insurance. Do you have enough money to cover in the event that something would happen to you, right? And really kind of just distilling down what's most important about each thing. And what's cool about it is, at the end of a Brite experience, we have a survey that says, how confident are you to go and enroll in your benefits? And with Brite, it's 85%. And do you know what the national average is without Brite? And this statistic is crazy. It's 4 to 7% of Americans are comfortable enrolling in their benefits. And with Brite, we bump that up to 85%.
Whoa.
And so, yeah, whoa is right. And that that statistic blows my mind, even saying it out loud. And so being able to meet people where they are has really helped us drive this engagement strategy and helped people enroll on the benefits that make sense for them.
You can't really argue with those numbers, Ben. They're pretty impressive numbers. Okay, so sending ongoing benefits communication year round can be beneficial to both employees and employers, of course. From FAQs to resources to voluntary benefits, the value of continuous communication is big. Open enrollment is, of course, the most popular time to send employee benefits communications. But what about the rest of the year, Ben? Tell us about what to send, when to send, and the tools one can use to make the process easier for both teams and employees.
Yeah, great question. So if you look at the timeline of benefits, right, open enrollment, so 75% of US companies are typically what they call a January 1st effective date, right? So benefits take place or go effective January 1st. So what that means is that open enrollment is usually going to be in October or November of the current year. So you have a large gap of weeks, 6 to 8 weeks before those benefits are even in effect. And you go through, Thanksgiving and Christmas time and all these holidays. So by the time they're actually needing or in play, most employees, I would argue, have forgotten or need a refresher on what the benefits are. So an example of what that could be is, come January, February, it's flu season. You can send out communication saying, hey, here's our telemedicine program. Here's the app. Here's where you download it in the App Store or the Google Play Store. Here's how you use it. Here's the things you can use it for, right? Your kid has a fever or a cough. Don't go to the emergency room, go to urgent care or use telemedicine. It's not only going to save you money, it's going to save you time, and it's probably going to get you the care that you need. So being able to send out simple things like urgent care versus emergency room, or here's our telemedicine product, or hey, have you enrolled in our mental wellness program, right? All of these things can be sent out throughout the year to remind employees to utilize these benefits. So that's just a small example of what we've seen Brite being used for through year-round communication.
Just out of interest, I wonder, are different benefits, do you see that different benefits are used by folks in different departments? I don't know, do sales folks want slightly different benefits to folks in the HR department, for example?
I don't know about different benefits, but I do know, and I think anyone listening to this, sales folks are a different breed, and sometimes they're hard to track down, and typically they're high energy and have a million things on their mind. And so being able to actually deliver this content via text message or Slack message, anyone knows that if you get a Slack or Teams message or a text, you're going to click on that and read it. 98% of text messages are opened within the first 10 minutes of receiving. And I'm sure there's a similar stat around Slack and Teams messages. So, I don't know about different benefits, but actually being able to get those folks engaged, Brite excels at that.
And in terms of the mechanisms, so I don't know, when earlier in my career, I used to do lots of email marketing, for example. And I know that if someone doesn't open, or perhaps they do open an email, there'll be a trigger campaign based on whatever their activities are, whether they click and all the rest of it. Does your technology do that too? So you mentioned a moment ago that it's within the first X amount of minutes that people tend to open. If they're not opening in a certain amount of time, are there triggers involved there, or is it more down to we make sure that we communicate on a regular basis, perhaps once a week, once a month, whatever that looks like?
Yeah, it's actually both. So we have analytics inside of our tool that not only shows you how often the Brite is being clicked on and being engaged with as a whole, and then page by page, but we also have analytics with our communication tools. So we can see who this text was sent to, if it was opened, right? On the email side, on the text side, with Slack and Teams, the same thing. So from there, again, as you kind of mentioned, your marketing is very similar. Then you can bucket those people that haven't opened it into another campaign and send another message to those folks saying, hey, there's 10 days left in open enrollment, or there's 5 days left. You need to go through this and learn about it. So exactly like how a marketing campaign would work, you can do something very, very similar with Brite and our tools.
Okay, you've got all the right answers, Ben. Congratulations. So developing a compelling employee benefits strategy is a key aspect of an HR team's role, as it significantly influences workplace dynamics and satisfaction. Of course, offering employees comprehensive benefits is a good place to start, but if you don't have a plan for launching or educating and communicating these benefits, employees are less likely to engage with them. We've established that so far today. Can you share some tips referencing the company, but also outside of Brite as well? Okay, can you share some tips for developing a compelling employee benefit strategy that will help ensure employees understand and appreciate the value of a company's offering? I guess what I'm looking for here is top tips for those HR folks listening in today who don't really know where to start. What would you say to them?
Yeah, this is a great question. It's definitely not my area of expertise, as my former life, again, was not being like a benefits broker or HR expert. So, some other guests might have some better tips, but where I think I can add value to this question is helping an individual, whether that's a blue collar or a white collar employee. Again, we've seen success across all industries being able to just deliver content in a way that a individual wants to be. Again, texting or Slack or Teams, or utilizing these tools that we've put together with a very slick user interface that helps guide someone through their employees. I don't know if it necessarily matters all of the benefits that are in there, but just that first step of helping someone understand what they're being offered definitely drives value in retention and retainment. And again, I don't have hard numbers as to like what that's going to save you, but what we've seen with just an 85% confidence to enroll, those numbers really, I think, speak for themselves as far as, what our strategy is not to help necessarily pick the benefits that you're offering, but once that process is done, is driving the value to the employees on what's being offered. And so again, I don't know if that answered your question, because again, that's not my area of expertise, but we're trying to solve just that engagement and understanding pain point that I think every HR professional who deals with benefits has gone through.
Rock and roll. Thank you very much, Ben. We're almost at the end. of this particular conversation already. What, Bill? I'm having so much fun. Don't leave me. Before we do wrap up, though, how can our listeners connect with you, whether that's email, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, who knows? And of course, how can they learn more about Brite?
Yeah, look, I'm a kind of I'm an old guy, so I don't have TikTok or Instagram, anything like that. But if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, it's Ben Hale, and I'm the CEO, co-founder of Brite. There's some content and things out there. If you want to learn more about Brite itself, britebenefits.com. That's BRITE benefits.com. From there, there's a bunch of content on how the tool works, what it looks like. You can go through a demo of the user experience. There you can connect with our team to learn more. Again, would love to connect with anyone here. We're constantly looking for feedback on our tool and what would be great. So if you're interested in that, please reach out via LinkedIn or via the website. And we'd love to connect with you and learn more about you, and you can learn more about Brite.
Okay, and there will, of course, as always, be links in the show notes and in the associated article, listeners. So you'll be able to connect with Ben through his LinkedIn profile there, and also visit the Brite website through those as well. Ben, that just leaves me to say for today, this has been a great conversation. What an inspiring story as to why you started your company, by the way. So much respect for you. Thank you very much for being my guest today.
Hey, thanks so much, Bill, for having me. This was a lot of fun.
And listeners, as always, until next time, happy working.
Thanks for listening to the HRchat Show. If you enjoyed this episode, why not subscribe and listen to some of the hundreds of episodes published by HR Gazette? And remember, for what's new in the world of work, subscribe to the show, follow us on social media, and visit hrgazette.com.